Okay, so I recorded a video. I recorded like a 10-minute video for this, and TikTok decided to delete my sound off of my video because they claimed that what I was talking about violated their terms of service. And I'm like, look, I'm not here to argue with TikTok. I'll just delete the video and move on. So I'm gonna have to start using words like graped and unalived and all this other and pew pews and stuff like that if I actually want TikTok to keep my videos up. Okay, all right. I'm not gonna read your comment because I feel like even me reading your comment, or maybe no, I'm not even gonna read your comment because I feel like reading your comment was part of the reason why my video had the sound deleted. So let me see if I can say what I want to say without triggering TikTok censorship and without using ridiculous words. Okay, let's try this again. All right. So I can acknowledge that, and even Zelensky has acknowledged that if they did not get support from Western Europe and North America in terms of supplies and in terms of finances, that the war between Ukraine and Russia would have been over with a long time ago, and that Russia would have taken over Ukraine, right? I think that it's a bigger situation than just supplying a losing battle, right? If you watched the interview that Putin had with Tucker Carlson, Putin seems very intent on restoring Russia back to its former glory. And from what I took from that interview, it sounds like he's upset that his former borders, or the former historical borders of Russia, are no longer in place. And what I mean by that is I believe he wants to go back to the USSR borders. And so I believe that Russia coming for Ukraine is step one. I think next is Poland, and then I don't know my geography super well, but I'm sure that all of the other nations, Lithuania, Estonia, all those other kind of Slavic countries are next to be taken. And I think he's not going to stop until he feels like he has all of his borders back to the way they originally were. And so I think that a lot of countries are fighting against Russia and are supporting Ukraine, not because they want to fulfill a proxy war against Russia, but because they want to ensure that other nations, other sovereign nations in Eastern Europe have the right to live freely and determine their own agency and have their own government, their own statehood, and their own sovereignty within their borders. Right? With regards to Russia being a nuclear power, I think that every country right now that holds nuclear weapons is being very judicious with how they use them. Because technically Russia could use nukes and create a situation for Ukraine. But we all know that Ukraine is a very resource-rich area of the world. And so nobody wants to turn Ukraine into Chernobyl, right? They want to be able to leverage the resources that Ukraine has, whether that's the United States with their minerals deal, or whether that's Russia with their annexation. And also, if one party starts using nuclear weapons, another nation that has the same resources available might decide to leverage that as well. Right? In my previous video, I had mentioned, possibilities of ways that the United States could try to end this war. One, they could continue to put money and supplies into Ukraine's hands. So far, it is proven that this is just prolonging things. It's not ending things. Two, they could try more negotiations. I don't see the negotiations working, and neither does Zelensky. He mentioned himself that in past after past agreements, Putin would just violate them. So Putin is not listening to the violations, to the agreements, right? So there's the option of trying to sanction him further. That's also an option. Really try to cripple the Russian economy to the point where they cannot do anything. I know that Trump wants Russian oil. I know Trump wants Russian oil. So he's probably not going to sanction them as hard as he really should. But I think that there are ways that they can bring Russia to its knees with sanctions in order to get them on board with a plan to step out of Ukraine. I don't think sending troops, it's a possibility, they could send troops, but then that does escalate things to a larger stage, to a bigger war. And I don't know if the world is ready for that level of involvement. I'm not a geopolitical expert. I don't have the answers here. But to me, this is bigger than just, quote unquote, fighting a losing war. This is ensuring the sovereignty of nations within Eastern Europe. And I mean, hopefully, Putin is only having his eyes on Eastern Europe. Hopefully, he's not trying to expand beyond that. But we don't know his plans. We don't know his methods, right? And so we have to tread lightly.